How starch should be combined. When it seems advisable to take starch, always bear the starch rule clearly in mind. It is as follows.
Use one starchy food, only in combination with one or more raw or cooked and starchy vegetables.
This means that no kind of fruit should ever be used with starch. That no kind of protein should ever be used with starch. For example, that meat and rice should never be mixed. That no two kinds of starch should be used together, such as bread and potatoes. In accordance with this regulation, the following are a few typical specimen starchy meals, containing good combinations. 1 baked potato, raw celery, lettuce and cucumbers. 2 boiled whole wheat grain, cooked spinach and asparagus. 3 boiled macaroni, cooked summer squash, raw celery. 4 cooked sweet corn, raw celery, cooked cucumbers. You will find this question of satisfactory combinations more fully dealt with in the chapters devoted exclusively to combinations and menus, but the foregoing will guide you as far as we have gone and give you an idea of how to apply the general rule. There is no suggestion of priority about the order in which these combinations are quoted. That is to say, number 4 is quite as good as number 1. Chapter 4. Cooked non-starchy vegetables. This class of food should furnish the main bulk of the meal, yet it is usually the most neglected. I believe that even though writers on dietetic subjects understand the importance of the non-starchy vegetables in the diet, nevertheless, they do not sufficiently emphasize their value because of the tendency to teach patients the use of those particular foods which contain a high calorie or food value. The non-starchy vegetables contain the smallest amount of food value of any foods which are used, and still, they are specially valuable for the following reasons. 1. They contain the largest quantity of organic minerals, which are as necessary to the body as the foundation is to a house. They supply these minerals and vitamins to make up the nucleus of the nerve cells, and also furnish the solid part of other tissues, and the material for the building of bone. 2. They have an enjoyable flavor if cooked properly, and one can fill up well upon them on account of their furnishing so much bulk, without being under the necessity of taking a large amount of those nourishing foods, which everyone is liable to use in excess. 3. They supply bulk material which can be used with the more concentrated foods, such as proteins and starches, and in this way they constitute a medium through which these foods can be more easily digested. 4. The bulk thus supplied will be the greatest aid in overcoming constipation, which is the mother of so many diseases. It is almost impossible to overeat on any of the non-starchy vegetables, and those who are learning to restrict their diet will find they can satisfy themselves as easily by using a second helping of these non-starchy vegetables, instead of taking an additional amount of protein or starch. You will also find it will be easy to overcome the habit of eating desserts if an extra dish of non-starchy vegetables is used instead. Of course, I do not believe it is ever a good plan to eat until you feel full, but those who have been in the habit of overeating will find they can cut down on the concentrated foods more easily if more non-starchy vegetables are used in their stead. There are a great many of the leafy non-starchy vegetables growing wild, and patients should find it an interesting study to hunt out the different kinds that may be found in the fields. The following list classifies those which are most easily obtainable. Good. Spinach. Small string beans. Asparagus. Summer squash. Cucumber. Eggplant. Beet tops. Turnip tops. Small beets. Small carrots. Small parsnips. Small turnips. Pumpkin. Lettuce. Okra. Chayotes not so good not good. French artichoke onions. Brussels sprouts garlic. Cauliflower. Dandelion greens. Kohlrabi. Small mushrooms. Small fresh sugar. Peas. Rutabaga. Sauerkraut. Watercress. Swiss chard. Oyster plant salsify. Mallow. Kale. Zucchini cooked cabbage. Leeks. Chives. Good. Celery is one of the very best of the non-starchy vegetables, and there is no disorder of the body where it cannot be freely used if any kind of food is allowable. The best kind is that which has been bleached out so that it is white, as this bleaching process removes certain volatile oils which are slightly irritating to the body. Great care must be exercised in washing from the celery any poison which has been used by the gardener to kill bugs or worms. Blue vitriol and strychnine are the poisons most commonly employed for the purpose, and if it is good-looking celery without worm holes, you may be sure that one of these agents has been used. The poison will remain in the inside parts of the head of celery, and can only be completely removed by taking the stalk apart and scraping each part thoroughly with a vegetable brush, afterwards washing in several pans of running water. If it is desired to cook the celery, it should be cut into small pieces and boiled in plain water for at least 2 hours. This time seems necessary to develop a certain flavor which the celery acquires if prepared in this way. Of course, it may be cooked for only a few moments, and will still be a desirable food even if prepared in such a manner, but you will find the flavor to be entirely different if the 2-hour period is used. No seasoning of any kind should be added to the water, but if the water is cooked out sufficiently, a small amount of cream and butter can be added when ready to serve. Spinach, beet tops, turnip tops, mallow, lettuce, kale should all be prepared in much the same way. After washing these leafy vegetables well, they should be placed in a pan without any water except that which clings to the vegetable after washing. Put a cover on the pan and allow it to simmer over a slow fire for about 10 minutes, then turn the fire up and allow them to boil for 5 or 10 minutes longer. In this way they will cook in their own juices, as the first 10 minutes of cooking will draw the juice from the leaves so that sufficient liquid will be available for the cooking of the vegetables themselves. Do not remove the cover from the pan often, as the steam will escape if you do this, and more water will have to be added. No seasoning should be used in the cooking. These greens are frequently spoiled by the addition of bacon or pork, and are usually salted, which not only destroys their delicate flavor but makes them indigestible, while if any grease is used in their preparation, it will interfere with the digestion of other foods. Small string beans are the more desirable kind, as the beans in the inside of the pods are not so large. When the beans are large, they produce fermentation and flatulence in the same way as navy and kidney beans. In case you cannot secure the small string beans, it will be necessary to open the larger ones, either before or after cooking, and remove the beans from the inside. Fresh string beans are more desirable than the canned beans if they can be secured small enough, but usually this is a matter of such difficulty that most of the year you will find it more convenient to purchase the canned variety, being careful to use a brand in which the beans are very small. Of course, these canned string beans are already cooked and need only to be warmed up, but the fresh string beans should be cut in small pieces and cooked for at least 1 hour in order to bring out the best flavor. I must warn you again not to use any grease in the preparation of string beans, as they are rendered indigestible by even the small piece of bacon that most people put in. They should be seasoned with butter and salt as desired by the person eating them. Asparagus should be used when it is fresh in the market to as large an extent as possible, but you will find it one of the most desirable of the canned non-starchy vegetables that can be obtained. The smaller varieties are to be preferred to the larger kind, which are more starchy. Cook the fresh asparagus in plain water, and do not season until ready to serve, when butter and salt may be added if desired. Summer squash, cucumber and chayotes are all in the non-starchy squash family, and are a very delicious addition to the everyday diet. Summer squash can only be secured in certain parts of the country during a limited season, but should be used as much as possible by those to whom it is available. Cucumbers may be secured nearly the whole year round, even though they are more expensive in certain seasons than others. Chayotes are only procurable in the Southwest, where they can be purchased in the market during the early fall season, and are often called Mexican squash, as they are found growing naturally throughout Mexico. These vegetables should all be cooked in much the same manner as the others, that is, in just enough plain water to cover them so that too much of the flavor is not cooked out in the water. They may then be mashed, and butter and cream added if desired. Cucumber may be cooked with or without its peel, but if the peel is removed, most of the strong acid, which is apt to irritate a delicate stomach, is removed along with it. If the chayotes or squash are fully grown, they will have to be boiled, but it is better to secure the small tender ones if at all possible. Zucchini, or Italian squash, is similar to the ordinary summer squash, and may be used freely if cooked in the same manner as summer squash. It is, however, difficult to obtain, being raised only in certain parts of the country. Eggplant should be prepared by boiling in plain water or baking in the oven. Probably the best way to boil the eggplant is to peel it and cut it in small pieces, cooking in just enough water to cover it. It may then be served, seasoned with butter and cream. If it is cut in two, it can be baked more easily in the oven than if it is left whole, and the edible part may afterwards be taken out with a spoon in the same manner as with Hubbard squash. One of the most indigestible dishes served on the modern table is fried eggplant, which is literally soaked with grease, and is really rendered entirely unfit for food. I take this special opportunity of condemning this method of preparing the eggplant, as it is practically the only way in which it is ever served. Small beets, small carrots, small parsnips, small turnips may be used as non-starchy vegetables if they are very small and tender, and may be prepared in a variety of ways. No matter how they are cooked, the peel should never be removed. They should not even be scraped, but should only be washed with a vegetable brush, after which they should be boiled whole in plain water and served in that manner, or cut in small pieces and boiled in just enough water to permit their being mashed afterwards. A very desirable way in which to bring out the flavor of any one of these is to grind through a vegetable grinder and cook carefully in a small amount of water, being particular to see that they do not burn. Any one of these vegetables may be cooked in this way, or two of them may be mixed together, such as turnips and carrots or beets and parsnips. If mixed in this way, they will make a very tasty dish, entirely different from anything to which you have been accustomed, and will really give the effect of a new vegetable. In my estimation, the most delicious way of preparing this class of non-starchy vegetable is by baking. One or more may be used, and they should first of all be ground fine and placed in a dry baking pan to a depth of 1 to 2 inches. This should be placed in a moderate oven and cooked for about 10 minutes, or until done. An agreeable flavor is added to the dish if the cooking is continued until the top is browned. You will find that this method will develop still another flavor in the vegetables which is different from any you have been able to obtain by other methods of preparation. No seasoning of any kind should be used in any of the above ways of preparing, but butter and salt may be added as desired when being eaten. See also my remarks on these 4 vegetables in the chapter on starches. Pumpkin is a very wholesome non-starchy vegetable if cooked properly. Practically the only way in which it is used on the average table is in the form of pie, in which form it is overspiced and seasoned with sugar, and thus rendered unfit for food. It is best cooked in the same manner as squash, that is, cut into small pieces, boiled in plain water, and mashed if desired, while cream and butter may also be added. The small fresh pumpkin should be used whenever possible, as it contains less starch than the more mature kind, which is the grade commonly found in canned pumpkin. But even this canned variety makes a good non-starchy vegetable to take on a camping trip where there is a scarcity of greens. Okra is a non-starchy vegetable used mostly through the southern states, where it is raised extensively. It makes an appetizing dish if cooked in plain water, and may be mixed with any of the other non-starchy vegetables when desired. Oyster plant or salsify. This vegetable should be used as young as possible before the starch has had time to develop, as in this way it may be used more freely and has a more agreeable flavor. Do not scrape the oyster plant, but wash it with a vegetable brush and cook in plain water. If cut up thin and seasoned with cream and butter, the flavor will slightly resemble that of an oyster stew, although the food value is undoubtedly different, as the oyster is a proteid food and often poisonous, while the vegetable oyster is non-starchy and always wholesome. Not so good.